As dusk starts to settle, students begin heading home, and among the crowd is our girl, looking pretty dejected. She's lost in thought, recalling the scene where her brother stood up for her and fought those thugs. She remembers him saying they're a family, and wonders if this means she can finally go to school without worrying about getting bullied. Her mind drifts back to her miserable days under Huijin's rule, where she was constantly bossed around and obeyed every command like a faithful dog. Whenever she tried to speak up for herself, she'd get slapped down. Suddenly, her brother appears behind her and asks if something's bothering her. She is startled by this sudden call, but our boy reminds her that he'd called her a few times already. But she did not respond. The sister quickly says sorry, explaining she didn't hear him, and then asks if he was waiting for her again. The boy nods, saying he was because he still doesn't know his way back home. So, they start walking together, talking about how they should grab some groceries on the way, since Grandpa always gets super hungry when he's home late. As they walk side by side, that rowdy bitch stands behind them. She's looking utterly mad and just can't handle seeing the smile on our girl's face. This bitch is biding her time, waiting for the perfect moment to make Daeun forget how to smile. In the next scene, we see our duo is shopping around the store. The girl seems to be having a tough time choosing what to get, while people around the store are looking at our duo. Girls in the store can't seem to take their eyes off our boy, and Daeun can't help but notice how much attention he's drawing from the ladies. She knew he was popular at school, but it seems he stands out even outside of it. Out of curiosity, Daeun finally asks her brother if he's ever had a girlfriend back when he was overseas. The sudden question takes him by surprise, and he looks like he's never even heard of the term girlfriend before. Seeing his confusion, Daeun clarifies, saying she means a girl he might be dating. He simply replies that he hasn't had any, which prompts his sister to suggest that he should consider having a girlfriend, especially since he's always attracting girls like a magnet wherever he goes. The boy stays silent for a moment before saying that he's always been too busy to have time for a girlfriend. Daeun understands where he's coming from, especially since he's been busy adjusting to a new country. That's when the boy turns the question back on her, asking if she's ever had a boyfriend. The question catches her off guard, and she quickly replies that she hasn't had one either. When he asks why not, she just says she's been busy as well. When they finally get home, we see our boy has been gifted a Samsung Galaxy phone by his grandpa. He's a bit disappointed because he wanted an iPhone instead. Grandpa quickly educates his grandson that iPhones have lousy battery life, so it's better to use a Samsung instead, especially since all the kids nowadays have iPhones. It's kind of a funny jab, suggesting that having a Samsung might actually make him stand out. Daeun, on the other hand, is pretty excited because she wanted a Galaxy phone for herself, and she can tell it's the latest model. The boy starts playing around with the phone, while Grandpa reveals that he's already saved Daeun's and his own number in it. Daeun is surprised to find out that Grandpa saved the phone numbers himself, since she usually helps with stuff like that. Grandpa quickly clears it up, saying he got some help from the salesperson. He adds with a grin that he's heard how the younger crowd loves to unbox new things themselves, so he hoped our boy wouldn't mind that he opened the box to save their numbers. In response, Jin quickly says he's totally fine with it. Grandpa then apologizes to Daeun, saying the store only had one of those phones, so he couldn't get one for her too. Daeun reassures him it's no big deal, and they end up having a great dinner, chatting and enjoying their family time. Later that night, the boy is still playing around with his new phone, and he is really digging into the Galaxy experience. He starts to think maybe Samsung phones aren't so bad after all, and could be even better than iPhones. The scene cuts to Major Kang, who's busy working at his computer when his phone rings. He picks it up and sees it's Jin, who lets his senior know that he's got a new phone and this is his new number from now on. The senior is a bit surprised by this news, and even the junior standing behind him asks if Major Kang didn't already give Jin a phone. Major Kang confirms that he did. That's when the senior gets tomato red with anger, pointing out that he had given Jin the most expensive iPhone they had, so he is kind of furious that Jin has changed his phone already. The next morning arrives, and Jin comes out of a cozy shower and notices his sister rushing out in her uniform. Before she leaves, Jin asks why she's heading out so early. She tells him she's actually running late and bolts out without wasting any time. She also reminds him that dinner is already set up, so all he has to do is put the dishes in the sink. As she's rushing down the street, she glances at her phone and is relieved to see that she'll make it on time. She had gotten delayed because she wanted to make a delicious soup for Grandpa, and seeing him smile after eating it made it all worth it. She's just happy to do something nice for him. Her moment of happiness is abruptly cut short when she gets a solid kick to her ribs and crashes to the ground. Standing over her are 3 girls, all decked out in hoodies and masks to hide their identities. The one at the front tells Daeun to watch where she's running and accuses her of nearly breaking her ankle. It's clear these girls are just looking for trouble and making excuses to pick a fight. They demand that Daeun apologize for her so-called blunder. The poor girl quickly nods and says she's really sorry. But the rowdy leader isn't satisfied and slaps Daeun across the face and insists she apologize like a whimpering dog. That's when one of the girls with a ponytail suggests they all head to a karaoke spot to blow off some steam. Another girl quickly agrees, saying that they definitely need to relax and have some fun. The ponytail girl crouches down to meet Daeon at eye level. With a smug grin, she invites our girl to join them in their karaoke session, and she is sure that they are going to have a blast there. The second Daeon hears that voice, she instantly recognizes that this is Huijin Kim, and she is definitely here to make our girl's life miserable. Before she knows it, they're all at a dingy karaoke place. The manager, catching sight of these shady-looking girls, can't help but feel uneasy. A while later, we see the manager again, who is pacing nervously toward the room where those girls had their karaoke session. He mutters to himself about how rowdy kids have gotten these days, and wonders what kind of mess those ladies might have left behind, because in their entire karaoke session, all he heard was loud screaming noises. The manager turns the lever and opens the door, only to find Daeon sprawled on the floor, clearly beaten up. Thankfully, she's conscious, and starts to slowly get up. She fumbles with her things, her hands shaking as she gathers her stuff. The manager is utterly confused to see this unexpected sight and decides to call an ambulance, but Daeon flatly refuses and stumbles out the door. Meanwhile, back in the classroom, the teacher is taking attendance and notices that Daeon is still missing. When the students confirm she's not there, everyone is confused since Daeon wouldn't just skip school without letting anyone know. In the background, Huijin Kim is smirking, clearly pleased with herself. Chicken Shake turns to her friend and asks if she thinks Daeon will be okay. In response, Huijin simply tells her friend not to panic. She reminds her that Daeon missing school has nothing to do with them. Chicken Shake nervously agrees, playing along and affirming that it's indeed true and has nothing to do with them. Finally, the school bell rings, signaling the end of the day. As usual, the boy waits outside for his sister, but he can't seem to spot her in the crowd of students. The crowd begins to thin out, and soon there's hardly anyone around, but his sister is still nowhere in sight. He waits for a bit, then pulls out his phone and tries calling her, wondering if she might have gone home already. Meanwhile, she's already back home, and her phone rings endlessly as her brother keeps calling, but she doesn't bother to answer and lets it ring. Eventually, the boy heads back home. His eyes immediately spot the sneakers she wears sitting over the doorstep. He pulls off his bag from over his shoulder and goes to her door, giving it a gentle knock and asking if she's inside. The girl quickly responds, and the brother feels a wave of relief knowing she's indeed there. Daeon quickly asks if Jin waited outside the school today too. Jin no-dias and mentions that he even tried calling her, but she didn't answer. The girl apologizes heartily, saying she must have been asleep. Jin picks up on the odd tone in her voice and asks if he can come in for a second. Daeon quickly comes up with an excuse, saying she's in bed because she's not feeling well. Worried, Jin asks if it's something serious. She reassures him that it's just a slight fever and that she'll be fine after some rest. Jin tells her to call him if she needs anything and decides to head out, planning to grab some medicine for her. But Jin suddenly stops at the door and notices that her sneakers are stained with blood. It doesn't take him long to realize something serious must have happened, since blood on her shoes isn't something you see every day.